AI is a powerful tool.
This summit can help ensure that artificial intelligence charts a course that benefits humanity and bolsters our shared values.
Welcome to AI for Good, the leading action-oriented, global and inclusive United Nations platform on AI. Organized by ITU, in partnership with 40 UN sister organizations, and co-convened with Switzerland. The goal of AI for Good is to identify practical applications of AI to advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and scale those solutions for global impact. In today's session, we're counting on you to use the live video wall feature to ask questions and post comments to help create an engaging discussion. We encourage you to stay until the end to chat, connect, ask questions, and network with our distinguished panelists and world-class AI experts in the neural network. It is now time to kick off the session and welcome our first speaker. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from me as well. I'm Guilherme Martinez Roura from the International Telecommunication Union, and I would like to welcome you all for joining today's AI for Good Innovation Factory session, Meet the Robotics for Good Startups Advancing Sustainable Development, organized by the ITU. The Innovation Factory is a program launched in 2020 under the flagship initiative AI for Good. It originally started as an online pitching platform for startups, and this year it has been upgraded as more like an accelerating program. We help startups grow and scale their innovative AI and robotic solutions to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by providing various business opportunities, mentoring services, matchmaking with potential investors and partners, cash prize, etc. Today, I'm delighted to introduce the second Robotics for Good Innovation Factory event as part of a series of global startup pitching sessions to find the most promising solutions using AI and robotics to solve sustainable development challenges. The winner of this session is invited to the Robotics for Good Grand Finale in May 2023 and receives a VIP and exhibition booth at the AI for Good Global Summit in Geneva that will be held the 6-7 July 2023. And through the year, the winner will also be supported to grow and scale up through the help of our judges, partners, startup accelerators, and incubators, so that we can trace how the Robotics for Good Innovation Factory startups grow and evolve and are making a positive impact towards the SDGs. Especially, today's session is organized in partnership with KUKA, AI for Good supporter. Thanks to this partnership, we were able to meet very interesting robotics startups helping to advance the SDGs. Also, through this partnership, the finalists today will have the opportunity to get a cash prize of 20,000 Swiss francs and mentorship sessions from KUKA. All right, now let me kickstart today's session and give the floor to our moderator today. Her name is Pascal Davis, and she's tech reporter at Euronews. Pascal, the floor is all yours.
Thanks so much, Guillaume. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm really interested in AI startups, robotics, and how they can really change the world. So before we look into those startups and we get to know which are the top 4 we picked today, I'd like to introduce you to our esteemed panel of judges. Firstly, we have Timo Landner, who's the Head of Innovation Management at Swisslog. We also have Joyce Sidopoulos, who's the co-founder and Chief of Operations at Mass Robotics, Jasper Verbund, the CEO and founder of Red Kiwi, and Ryan Wan, co-founder and general partner of Outpost Capital. Now, just before we get started, I'd like to start with you, Joyce. I want to ask you, what will you be looking for today? Oh, Joyce, I can't hear you there. Can you just unmute your...
Got it. Sorry about that. I'll really be looking for a startup that can help with clean energy, cleaning the environment, really AI and robotics for good. So healthcare is another, something we're always interested in. So really it's to show that AI and robotics are good for humanity and something it can do to really help the population.
Timo, I want to ask you, can robots and AI really help the population?
Yeah, short answer, sure. I mean, there are several fields, several areas where robots and AI can help, and we see that already on a daily basis, right? And I assume that we see already also today some inspiring ideas how to use AI and robotics in that field.
Okay, Jasper of Red Kiwi, I want to ask you quickly, why is this prize so important? Why is it important for us to explore the startups and really give them a platform?
Well, I think startups have an open-minded, and that will help definitely to achieve the goals we all have in this world. So I think it's really great to have this program up here. Yeah, perfect.
And lastly, Ryan, what are you going to be looking for today from our startups?
Absolutely. So I think, one particular thing I'm looking for is how the startup is going to drive the adoption for AI and robotics to be using everybody's everyday life, right? I think, technology advancement is one thing, but there is always, some kind of product market fit for startups to solve, to actually, put the technology in use. So, a lot of startups I talk to, they have great plan, but there is a lack of plan in terms of how are they going to make the adoption happen, how they're going to push the industry forward, right? So I think having a mechanism, having a way, and having the approach to drive the adoption and make things actually happen, that's something I'm particularly interested in.
Okay, lots of challenges at the moment. We'll be asking our startups about that. So before we start our pitching, I want to firstly let the audience know that if you have any questions, you can definitely leave them on the AI for Good neural network chat room, and we can answer those during the Q&A section of this pitching session. So let's get on with our teams then. I'd like to introduce you to our first team, which is Clean Robotics. Now, Clean Robotics, you will have 5 minutes to pitch, and then that will be followed by 10 minutes of a Q&A with our judges. So your 5 minutes will start now.
Great, and thank you, Pascal. And thanks for everyone who's attending today. So I'm here today to talk to you guys about TrashBot. So company called Clean Robotics make a system called TrashBot. Oh, thought I was going to get on my first slide there. Apologies. Yeah. So I'll just roll with it like this. Apologies for that. So Clean Robotics makes a system called TrashBot. It's essentially a smart waste bin that captures and sorts waste as it's thrown away. As we all know, recycling's been a notorious challenge across, pretty much the whole world, with Europe kind of leading the way, but the US quickly looking to catch up. So finding that recycling rules are really confusing. A lot of times as we're traveling from place to place, just familiarizing yourself with where items should go and which bin they should be placed in is pretty challenging. This leads to a large amount of contamination within the recycling stream, rendering lots of materials unrecyclable. And the thing about unrecyclable or contaminated materials is that they can't properly be processed, so the circular properties can't be realized. And we also find that there's a lack of education around recycling. Since it's so specific to the region you're operating in, we find it's really important to educate people on that local level and really like remove the decision-making process from their hands when they're in public-facing kind of traveling type of environments. So the way TrashBot works is users approach it like any other waste receptacle. As they deposit their item, a computer vision system will actually identify what that item is and collect data on it. And then once we've identified the item, we actually sort it into the proper bin below. What's really great about this is you can be totally unfamiliar with recycling in a region and still recycle perfectly using the system. So think about your international airports, maybe sports stadiums, malls, museums, places that people who are visiting other countries frequently visit, or even people who are just traveling from a couple hours away within the same country. We find here in the United States, recycling rules can change, as short as a 30-minute drive away. And then on the other side, obviously we're automating the experience for the user, but we also want it to be an educational experience. We want them to leave not only going, wow, that was a really cool robot I interacted with, but also knowing how to be a better recycler in the future. So one of the really cool things that TrashBot does is it'll actually recognize what the user is throwing away and then trigger interactive educational content based on that item. For the facility, they get all sorts of amazing data on the back end that essentially tells them what's being thrown away, how often bins are filling up, and how they can take actions to improve their zero waste program faster. We really believe in data-driven decisions, and we think that more organizations can be more successful utilizing that data. Some of the folks we're already working with include Children's Hospital Los Angeles, MasterCard, United Airlines here in the United States, as well as CapitaLand, kind of over in Singapore and in the APAC region, as well as Melco out in Macau. We're excited to bring on, I think, a total of 6 international airlines this year, including Palm Springs International, Phoenix Sky Harbor, amongst others, as well as folks like Simon Properties Group, and a good number of hospitals as well. So we've seen good adoption here in the US. We're tracking to hit 600 units by end of year and are currently sitting around 337. So definitely excited about that. And looking to primarily the domestic market for now, but definitely looking for strong partners internationally as we evaluate markets. We also have an ad-supported model that can run on TrashBot. So we utilize this.
1 minute left, Zach, okay?
Sounds good. We utilize this in nonprofit instances where we need to subsidize the technology, make it easier to adopt. And this is just kind of a revenue breakdown at a high level, what we're looking at across the next 5 years. Also, lots of exciting impact. We're looking at about 6.3 billion in recycling abatement, 4.4 billion in carbon abatement, and have a super strong team kind of leading the way. And with that, I'll wrap up. See if anyone has any questions.
Super, thank you. So I'll now leave the floor to the judges for the Q&A session. Your 10 minutes to ask as many questions as you like starts now.
Well, Zach, thanks very much for your presentation. Really nice. I was wondering, which technology do you use actually to recognize the waste? Is it just interested?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of Google Cloud. We also use Belina, but it's primarily a computer vision system that we've designed with a custom taxonomy.
Yeah, so it's mainly vision.
Yeah, 100%. We also use weight sensors as well. Yeah. So we use vision as our primary classifier and then weight as our secondary, looking for things like contamination.
And how much, do you have an idea of how much percentage you actually know what it is? And because the rest you will drop in the general bin?
So I don't think I completely understood your question.
How much of the waste which goes into the bin do you actually know where you have to put it?
Yeah. I would say we're probably about like 95%. Luckily in public spaces, most of the time you're seeing the same stuff thrown away over and over again. So we have about, I'd say like a little south of 100 items that the system can recognize with a really high level of accuracy. But we've had weird things thrown away, like a shoe or a boot. The system just struggles with because we don't see them very often.
Cool.
So what's the
I'm sorry.
general maintenance of this machine look like, and how does the machine handle certain like weird items, for example, those you mentioned, or some kind of stinky food, right, or some kind of liquid? I think you can't control what people threw in there, right?
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, there's a couple of different ways we can go about addressing that. So the liquid, for instance, we have channels within the trash bot, and then we're usually putting streams that aren't easily contaminated by liquids underneath of that sensing chamber. So the liquids can kind of drain out without contaminating, say, the recycling stream or maybe the composting stream, depending on where you're at. And then as far as service and maintenance goes, that's one of the reasons why we've been slightly hesitant to kind of move internationally at first. We have a really strong service and maintenance program here in the United States where we do preventative health checks and really make it easy to own a robot. Everyone wants to have a robot, but no one necessarily wants to take care of one. So we definitely think about that as we work with our customers.
I'm sorry, my video is not going on, but I do have a question. I love the education piece of it, that you're telling the public, what exactly they're recycling and maybe how many bottles they're saving. So my question is, how much does it cost to produce this, each one, and how much trash can it hold? Like, how often will it have to be emptied? And is it are they standard sizes? And so how much does it cost to make, and what are you selling it for?
Yeah, so currently our target BOM is about $3,500. And then as far as it obviously costs a little bit more than that. There's like software, maintenance and service packages, things of that nature. But just generally for the trash bot itself. And then I forget, what was you had a second question there?
So I see what you're selling it for. So which is a great price, I think.
The volume, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're looking at about 80 gallons, or I think it comes out to right around 200 liters. I'm not sure.
And
so it's looked at as a.
When you do software updates, can you do that Wi-Fi? Via Wi-Fi?
Yeah. One of the cool things, so we work with like a lot of airports, a lot of hospitals, really high network security places. So we use a cellular modem, so we don't ever like connect to their network. Gives us like full autonomy within the building. And then you're looking at about 80 gallons of volume. So we're looking at like normally replacing standard waste bins in like a more centralized regime.
I also have a question with regards to the functionality, so to speak. It is not so easy to throw things away from time to time. Think about a yogurt cup, which is made out of plastic, and maybe the top is made out of aluminium. My question is to the education part that also Joyce mentioned. Is there a possibility that the trash bot reminds me how to throw things away, like get the aluminium from the yogurt cup and throw it separately away?
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the things we really focus on with TrashBot. So first, we'd kind of have your instance kind of happening over and over again, and we'd be able to see it in the data that, hey, we've got these yogurt cups that, we're detecting contamination on. And what it allows us to do is, since TrashBot's capturing images, we go, all right, what do contaminated yogurt cups look like? Where is the problem here? And it allows us to really like pinpoint those user behavior issues. I know in the United States, we had a lot of issues with people kind of having the somewhat compostable coffee cups with the paper sleeve that was 100% recyclable. So we definitely were like kind of analyzing these coffee cups going, why are they going to landfill? Oh, it's the paper sleeve on the outside. We need to like educate people to kind of remove that, separate it before things are going into the bin. And we've seen like pretty astonishing results. Everything from like coffee cups to water bottles needing emptied. Yeah.
Nice.
Is there? Did you actually take a look at the people? They get a little bit lazy with your bin, right? You don't have to think anymore. That's a good thing, but that could be a bad thing as well. Maybe at home they just throw it away and don't think about it anymore. Did you take a look at that? The risk?
Yeah, 100%. And like, that's sort of why we're really focused on those like big public facing institutions, like an international airport that like, you might travel through the airport if you're a frequent flyer 10, maybe 15 times a year. Is that enough for you to like have dug into the recycling policies for that airport, even if it's only an hour away? Chances are no, and you're looking at like 50 million, passengers or more at a lot of these airports. So they're generating in the ballpark of like 5,000 tons of waste per year. So yeah, I definitely say it's not really designed for the home. It's definitely designed for those places where you're kind of out and about, maybe a little stressed out, like the hospital, and just not thinking about recycling. We really allow those organizations to make significant strides in the right direction.
Cool.
Zach, what's the sales cycle look like? And, for your customers, like the airports, hospitals, right? What's their decision-making process look like? And how do they justify this kind of price tag to have this, super expensive truck robot in their facilities?
Yeah, of course. So there's a couple different ways. One is like just through their sustainability goals and the budgets they've allocated to reach those. But then there's also a big operational efficiency element to TrashBot. So you figure if you have 300 trash cans across a massive, let's say 2-3 million square foot facility, if you're the guy who needs to go empty those trash cans, it's pretty time consuming tracking all that waste down. And a lot of times kind of spent looking at empty bins. So one of the things we do alongside the sustainability benefits is also introduce a whole nother level of operational efficiency by just, making those collection routes much more efficient. And then, as far as like the investment, for most folks, spending this much on trash cans isn't anything new. That normally, a set of just stainless steel tubes would run you about $3,000. So we've seen like pretty wide scale adoption. I think like, we have orders kind of in like 20 to 50 range already with large airports, and have found that a lot of the budgetary funding that was kind of allocated by the president here in the US has definitely lended a helping hand to, bolstering those budgets.
Yeah, we've just got over a minute left, so one last question.
Great. Well, that wraps things up. If anyone in the audience has any questions, our website can be found just cleanrobotics.com. Feel free to reach out, and always happy to help.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Super. Thanks so much for telling us about that, and also to our judges. Now, I want to move up to our next startup, which is a health startup, Needle-Eye Robotics. Welcome.
Thank you, Pascal. Good afternoon, good morning,
I will
everybody.
give you 5 minutes, which begins now.
Okay, let me share my screen. There it is. And here we go in presentation mode. Again, we are trying to solve a very large problem, but starting from a small little step. You see, prostate cancer is a real global problem. It's the second leading cause of death in men, and there are about 1.5 million people in Europe, the same amount in the United States, that are diagnosed with prostate cancer. There are about 1.5 million biopsies that are done. Biopsy is the golden standard for recognizing the pathology or not. But you see, there is a 25%, between 25 and 30% of false negatives. So basically, out of those 1.5 million people that get the biopsy, 500,000 get a wrong diagnosis. This leads to a under-treatment in very few cases. Most cases is in over-treatment. So basically, the treatment that is proposed is a radical prostatectomy. On the other hand, the diagnosis step is very poor. Biopsy is a poor procedure. There are very few investments, and it is done quickly and so forth. So our goal is to improve this diagnosis, reducing up to a few percent those error of false negatives, but the vision is to be able to push the digital transformation of the prostate cancer therapy, and I'll try to explain this point. We are addressing this specific type of prostate biopsy, which is called a transperineal biopsy. Is a very long and tedious procedure. It takes some sort of grid puncturing and so forth, and it must be done under full anesthesia. Where in this procedure, where all this error come? Well, first of all, you need to find the right target. and this is sort of one of our strengths. The image fusion, the cancer is not visible in the ultrasound. You see there in the picture a rectal ultrasound probe. In this picture, the cancer is not visible, and it is visible in the magnetic resonance images. The needle guidance is not perfect. It's done mostly of the time by hand, and also the workflow is not standard enough so that people can rely on a given level of accuracy. And these are the requirements that urologists want: precise location, have the lowest rate possible, be able to return to the same place to repeat the biopsy or to monitor the progress of a disease, and to rely on standards so that they can trust the diagnosis that they receive. We have a long history of development, and a few European projects, all in the modeling of tissues, needle guidance, breast biopsy, autonomy surgery. And then we started getting funded to do a prototype, for which we did the laboratory experiments and also cadaver experiment. And then recently, we got funded by the European Union to do a UCIC transition fund to reach the pre-product level with our prototype. Our solution addresses the 4 causes of error: target identification. We do an AI-based identification of the prostate, of course, but also the lesion in the prostate. Image fusion is a leading cause of error because it's usually done as a rigid superposition of fusions, and here we do it depending on the tissue. So we do some stretching, but depending on the biomechanics of the tissue. And we make what we call a digital twin of the prostate, which will be some sort of digital passport that will accompany the patient in his therapy. We have a prototype, but this is the first generation. We are developing the second generation, and the third generation is underway. And
Paolo, you just have under a minute left, okay?
Okay, so all right. And this is the story of our project that hopefully in two and a half years we'll have a full prototype. And this is our market share. You see it's very growing, especially for the therapy. And as I said, we would like to address the focal therapy of prostate cancer. And here is our team for the implementation of the project.
Okay, Paolo, making time. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Really
fascinating stuff there. I'm now going to pass you over to the judges who will question you. I hope they'll be nice with you. And your 10 minutes start now.
Paolo, thank you for your presentation. I think, you stated a problem that clearly needs to be solved, and you provide a solution, right? So the pitch is pretty clean and simple, straightforward. So my question is, for this, require expertise in both the robotics industry and the healthcare industry, right? Especially on this prostate cancer in this very specific domain. Can you talk a little bit more about the team and also your background and how this is, the right team to solve this problem?
Okay, yes, certainly. Well, I've been working in robotics, as you can see from my gray hair, for a very, very long time. And in the last about 20 years, I've been focusing on medical robotics and robotic surgery. And then eventually shifting, because of luck, interested in percutaneous operations. So we've done work on cryoablation of the kidney, breast biopsy, and then finally this ERC project that I got funded was on developing autonomous procedure for these technologies. So now we put everything together in a prototype. And again, we try to start from a very, very small step. We are not trying to do the full surgical robot. We address a poor procedure. The robotic is sort of a commodity there. Is a positioning of the needle, which is not particularly interesting and intelligent. What is important is the AI part. So we do all the recognition, the fusion of the images, the trajectory generation, and then hopefully we'll migrate to the focal therapy, which will be the holy grail of urologists. They all would like to have a patient coming into their ambulatory being diagnosed with prostate cancer in the morning and the afternoon being cured. This is not possible right now. It takes a year to get through the whole process. But the field is evolving very rapidly. We are in the prostate cancer therapy about 20 years behind the breast cancer therapy. Now, breast cancer is basically a needle insertion in the normal cases and the removal of or burning of the tumor inside the breast. Instead, the prostate cancer is the total removal, as it was done 20 years ago with the breast. But the field is moving, and so we are positioning ourselves to be ready when the clinical trials will give enough evidence to detect to choose the proper focal therapy to support the therapy.
I also do have a question, maybe an obvious one. I can clearly see the facts, right? So that it helps, but on the other hand, I would fear a needle coming from a robot, right? What do you tell these people that fear of a robot to make this autonomous needle process happen?
The needle is driven by the surgeon. The robot is simply a position of the needle, and the surgeon inserts the needle. But you see, of course, I didn't have time to explain, but the standard procedure is agreed. So basically, you have to insert 24 times the needle in the patient. Now the shift is the field is shifting to two holes, and you can imagine that you have the needle, a flexible needle that you have to aim at basically chestnut through a single point. So it's very tricky to control the orientation of the needle, and really you need a robotic positioner at that point.
Okay, then I understood it correctly. Okay.
Thanks very much so far. My big question is, what is your main obstacle or risk, how to get there? What is the main thing you have to overcome for the next few years?
Well, of course, our main risk will be the clinical trials when we have their prototype ready. Right now, the technical risks are somehow mitigated. We have a very good team to do the development. We've been cadaveric trials last year. We're going to have a new prototype with new cadaveric trials next year. So we think that the steps are, but the risk is acceptance. As you know, new therapies, new approaches, really, just to give you an example, in total radical prostatectomy, the procedure now is nerve sparing. So basically remove the prostate without damaging the surrounding nerves. Till a few years ago, 6 or 7 years, instead of calling nerve sparing, was called cancer sparing, because there were many surgeons were afraid that it would leave cancer cells behind. And then it was overcome. So the acceptance is our main risk, and we need to work on that.
And how do you have any first ideas on that? How you can mitigate that one?
Oh yeah, sure. We have a good team of medical advisors, and we will do the clinical trials in leading centers in Europe, starting from Europe because we are based here, and then start disseminating the results and convincing people with hard facts, with clinical evidence.
Okay, thanks so far.
Yeah, I think you'll be okay getting the public to adopt. You see, you can use examples from like the Da Vinci and some of the other Corindus Vascular who are doing that as well. So I think that if that's your biggest obstacle, you'll be okay. Any other obstacles other than the clinical trials you're doing in Europe, and you have to get patient consent, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to go through the certification, but that's, again, it's a lengthy and somehow cumbersome procedure, but we work on that. And of course, the other big obstacle is resources, because, to develop a medical product, it takes a very long time and a large amount of resources. So now we are funded up to the beginning of the clinical trials and at the end of the certification, and we need to start immediately a new round of fundings to go through the clinical trials and be ready to sell the product.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions there? We've got a couple of minutes left.
So I have a question left, but I was not sure if I wanted to ask. But this 25% is a high percentage of false negatives and positives and problems. What is it now that it will go down? Is it because of that you can more precise because of the...
Yeah, the 4 points that I mentioned earlier. So they are somehow all equivalent. You know, the identification of the tumor now is done by hand by the radiologist. You know, if the radiologist is fresh in the morning, the first 5 or 6 is okay, and then, you know, sort of becomes a routine. So there is a margin of error there. The largest margin of error that urology told us is the fusion of the 2 images. You have the identification of the tumor on the MRI, but in the real time, the ultrasound doesn't see the tumor. So you have to superimpose the 2 images and identify what is the correct position, the correct target for your needle. This superposition is done sort of as they were rigid obstacle, and sort of they are stretched to match the borders. This is not the right way to do it. We do it with the biomechanics of the tissue. So we improve the accuracy there. And then, of course, there is the needle. You know, if you have this little sword, flexible sword that you have to try to punch somebody, you know, it's very hard to get the right place.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Do you see, by the way, other, or are there already other fields of that you may think of? I mean, you talked about cancer, but I'm not a doctor. Maybe it's a stupid question, but maybe there are some other areas where this technology, together with software, may help in future.
Absolutely, but again, as I said, we want to start from something that is small that we can sort of grasp and then expand it. But you know, all percutaneous biopsies can be done in this way. I think liver, I think pancreas, just to say in the same, more or less in the same district, which are very critical. You know, pancreas biopsy, as you very well know, is very critical and very difficult. And so a robotic help, that will be very, very advantageous. Liver biopsy is not that important because it's very visible in the ultrasound, but therapy could be very, very useful. So you would avoid an open field surgery. So there are possibility of, and in the past years there have been a lot of emphasis on lung biopsies. Of course, ultrasound with lungs don't work very well, and so, but you know, the target will also be in that direction.
In terms of go-to-market, right? How long does it take, and what's the process? I understand right now you guys are developing a prototype, but starting from here, you go to the clinical trial, but what's after, and you know, what does it take to get there?
Yes, well, the response that we start having are very promising because the cost of the machine will be very low, comparable to a ultrasound machine, and also will make it compatible with existing ultrasound machine. So it will be something.
I'm afraid we are out of time.
Okay. So
very great
even
question.
The surgeons, the urologists in their ambulatory can afford it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for presenting that, Coach.
Thank you very much for
your great questions. Thanks also to our audience. I'm seeing your questions come through. We will try and get to those after everyone has pitched. So our next startup, which could help us to sleep better, is Somnox. Somnox, hello.
Hi, hello, good afternoon.
Hi, lovely to meet you. Okay, so your 5 minutes to pitch starts now.
Perfect. All right, so I am Julian. I am one of the founders of Somnox. We are a company that creates soft robotics to help improve the quality of sleep. We have started our company in 2017, and we are already on the market with our product. We did over 2 million in revenue last year. We have around 15,000 people use our device around the world in order to improve their sleep, and we're growing rapidly. And just to give you an understanding of the importance of sleep, actually 1 out of 3 people is suffering from the effects of sleep deprivation. We spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping, but 1/3 of the population isn't able to do so in a proper manner. And a lack of sleep has a tremendous impact on our health, not just the physical and mental health that is affected by a lack of sleep, but even the economy. Burnouts, a lot of diseases are correlated to a lack of sleep, for example, Alzheimer's or heart disease. And even there are more car crashes out there that are fatal due to drowsy driving versus drinking under influence. And also most of the mental disorders out there have a cause-effect relationship with a lack of sleep. So the need for sleep is tremendous, and currently we solve it with sleeping pills and often not so accessible therapy. So that's why I decided as a robotics engineer to look into how robots could actually improve the sleep of so many people. The market itself is actually really big around the world. It's growing rapidly. The sleep economy is a 120 billion euro market with a 7.1% growth rate. We're currently active in the Netherlands. Cumulatively, we generated 7 million in revenue, and we're entering the US market as of last year to expand our growth in the next few years. And the way we do it is by really targeting an audience that is suffering from stress and anxiety-based sleep deprivation. So what our solution consists of is a hardware component and a software component. The hardware component is a soft robotic. It's basically something you can hold on to. It's made out of memory foam. And what it does, it is gently guiding your breathing in a slow-paced manner to make sure you calm down. And then the application gathers data through the sensors of the robotic to see your sleep stages, your respiration rate, and give your personalized tips how to improve sleep. So here's a small video clip that shows how that works. So it's physically giving you the sensation of the falling and rising of the breath. And by feeling that sensation, you will subconsciously adjust your own breathing pace, which is proven to reduce stress and anxiety and help you fall asleep faster. The sensors will detect that in real time and generate a breathing exercise according to your needs, so to say. And for during the day, the app can help you in coaching you to better sleep. So that's very quickly about the product itself. It's an easy, effective, and safe solution to improve the quality of sleep. We're contributing to these 3 sustainable development goals in our effort to offer it as a sleep as a service. So you can't just buy the product, you can actually subscribe to it for a monthly payment. That's also the business model that we have, a sleep as a service, a SaaS, if you will. So we already found that we can help people fall asleep twice as fast. We have around 15,000 users around the world, and we can actually increase the amount of total sleep time with less awakenings during the night in the studies that we have conducted so far. So we are acquiring customers through a direct-to-consumer manner, mainly through our web shop and digital marketing efforts, which is quickly scalable across other countries. It's effective. We're the first in the market, and we already have 4 patents granted here in Europe and the United States of America.
Just under a minute left there, Julian.
Yeah, almost done. So this obviously should have been our first slide. Our team of fantastic women and men working on a mission to help 100 million people sleep better. We have experience in building hardware and software and bringing that into the market as a consumer product, because that's what it is. It's a consumer brand that we want to help a lot of people sleep with. So yeah, unlock your sleep health. And if we don't win, at least try our device to improve your sleep, because it will revolutionize the quality of life for many people. Thank you.
Julian, thank you so much for that pitch. It's now time to feed you to the sharks, I'm afraid.
Let's go.
So, judges, your 10 minutes start now.
Does the device make a sound as well? Does it put off like a...
It can, yeah. So there's a speaker in there. You can connect it just like any internet speaker, play meditations, bedtime stories, or anything like that. Yeah. So, but it's optional. You can also make it silent and no noise.
What's the price that you're targeting for the public?
Yes. So it's 35 euros a month to use the product as a subscription. We also offer it as a direct payment for 500 euros with a 30-night trial. So you only pay if it works, but we're shifting the whole business model towards a product as a service. So yeah, 35 euros a month. That's the price for a consumer.
Products are very tough because consumers are tough. So do you have
yes.
the people who are making the actual device, they're actually going to be the people that are going to take it back if it needs to be fixed or if there's returns, that kind of thing?
Yeah, but we're already doing this on scale. So I know it's hard, but we managed to do it in a good quality so far.
You said you had an app. Well, what kind of features are there important? Which features do you have on the backlog?
So there's so many features on the backlog, but I feel like we want to focus on the essence and try to keep it simple. But the app really serves as a digital sleep coach. So the device itself has sensors that can detect respiration rate, sleep stages, and those type of things.
Yes.
And the app collects it and then brings it back as personalized feedback. So for example, in the app, you would see something like, we detected your resting heart rate was rather high last night. Could this be due to drinking caffeine until late in the day? You might as well try these and these lifestyle adjustments to improve so. So that's the major thesis of the app. So the device is there for using it during the night, and the app is there to change and improve lifestyle during the day. And what we're working on is to have, currently we make use of decision trees mainly in the suggestions that we provide, but the amount of data we collect of an individual is super interesting to leverage in combination with AI to have personalized health advice on scale, mainly on a preventative lifestyle aspect, so not necessarily medical.
Okay, thanks.
Can the device be used also for children? Is it possible? And if so, can we train somehow with that how to sleep correct in younger years?
I will have a quick secret project I'm holding here.
Okay.
So there is a kids version available. There it is. There it's sort of this for. Yeah, it can be used by kids as well. It's not the main audience, but I think a lot of parents buy it for their children. And what we are looking into for the future is to have a separate brand, Somnox Kids, which could have put a character like this into a story in the app, and then have storytelling. You get them used to a regular sleep schedule and tell them sleep stories. But it's already used also in hospitals with children that have the breathing of their mom. They record their breathing pace and the sounds of mom telling a story, and then it's just like mom is laying next to them. So it provides some emotional comfort for them.
I would prefer the case version of the standard version. So I think, sleep is a very subjective thing, right? And this new methodology, to my understanding, may work very well on some people who have sleep problems, and it may not work very well for another group of people, right? So in your in the data that you currently capture and the consumer you currently studied, what's the success rate, right? And also, how do you handle, how do you deal with a consumer who have different experiences about the product?
Yeah, so currently we can help 86% of the people that buy the product in improving their sleep. So the other 14% unfortunately doesn't improve their sleep, as it is such a complex problem. This could be different reasons. Some people have sleep apnea or restless legs, which is something we do not treat, and then it won't be effective. So we, in our business model, have to make sure that around 14% of the products we sell will come back to us as a result of not being effective. But luckily, the majority of people are benefiting from it. So that's how we handle that. And having this direct-to-consumer model, we are quite easy in our supply chain of refurbishing products that come back and bringing them back in the supply chain so they won't end up in landfill. I hope that answers your question.
I understand. And also, do you studied any potential side effect of this methodology? For example, people say it's not recommended to have electronics in your bed area, right? That may affect your sleep quality. Or do you see the potential of, this device do help people get much better with sleep, but it build up a certain level of dependency, right? So when they are traveling, they don't have the device around, they will have poor sleep quality.
Yep. Yeah, so first of all, we have all the certifications in place that it is perfectly safe. And at night, there's no Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or anything going on. So that's for the part of the side effects. There are none that we found through the certification trajectory that we've been through. In terms of dependency, well, currently people are taking very heavy chemical sleeping pills that they are dependent on. So if they would become dependent, then at least it's a breathing, cuddly companion rather than a sleeping pill. But most people don't get addicted to it in a way that they can't sleep without it. We don't see that much, and otherwise the latter argument withstands, I hope.
I understand.
You just said something like there's a logical path, and then you get some tips and tricks and for better sleep. Where's exactly the AI component in your product?
So at the moment, we mainly use it to generate the breathing exercises in real time. So we take into consideration the demographics of a user, their respiration rate, their sleep rhythm, and then generate a program that is according on their needs. So how the device is breathing, what sounds it uses, how long it goes on and off. And in the app, and that's currently under development, we really want to leverage the more data-driven insights as a way of a coach. And that is still something we're building and is not available on the market yet. I would say the main reason for us applying is being a robotic entity rather than being a superior AI in our field, because that's what we're building next, and that's why we were interested to connect with the industry to make that happen.
Are you connected to some medical institutions because your data could be really interesting for the medical to have some more insights? So not only for your product, more for the world.
Yeah. So we are doing academic studies with the University in Hamburg, University of Erasmus MC here in Rotterdam, and in Karlstad in Sweden. So we have quite some collaborations going on there. We are not doing medical data or gathering medical data at the moment because that would qualify us as a medical device, and we're trying to prevent of becoming one. So we remain on the preventative side of wellness and lifestyle. While remaining evidence-based in the brand that we're building.
Okay, thanks.
Do you were saying how you provide feedback to the user. So let's say they had a restless night's sleep that didn't jive with previous sleeps. Do you ask them what they had to eat? And does it record that kind of stuff, or do you say, I had a stressful day at work, or something happened during the day that was stressful, or like, do you collect that data? And as far as doing the studies, I would worry that it would be privacy data, that you wouldn't want to share that data with other people.
No, so we're not sharing the data with anyone else. So all the data that we collect is only for the user, and we'll never use it for any third-party applications or make advertisements work. So it's stored. The processing happens on the device itself. It doesn't reach with the privacy data of the consumer itself to our destination. There is a small sleep diary in the app, so you can indeed put in your own notes of having like more subjective answers of, hey, I had this stressful meeting, and it might, but we are not able to access that data at all. That's encrypted and private.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all we have time for, I'm afraid. Thank you, Julian, for sharing your pitch with us, and to those great questions from the judges and our audience. We'll come to those questions in a moment. Oh, there goes the alarm. But so we have now our last startup, WeTech Food. Now, this promises to meet the demands of the future. Exactly how? We will find out. WeTech Food. Are you there, Guillermo?
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Guillermo. We can hear you. Super.
Excellent.
Okay, your 5 minutes to pitch starts now.
Excellent. So through 2022 and moving seconds. Oh yeah, there. 2022, there were a couple of nightmares in the restaurant industry. There were huge dropouts of people force working in the restaurant sector, very low margins, and a lot of errors and waste that determined at the end profitability. So we turned those nightmares into daydreams, and we gave possibility of new careers to employees. We reduced labor costs by 4, and we were able to reduce waste from an average of 12 to an average of 3. And how did we do it? Well, we did it through our kitchen powerhouse. It's called Lex. This one is the refrigerated version called Coolx. It's a robot that holds 16 ingredients up, as you can see here in a restaurant. It contains 8 sauces, and it can make up to 300 bowls an hour, 150 pokies an hour with only 2 slots, and over 4,000 bowl combinations. It can work in a restaurant and it could work in a fast kitchen. No work needed. It works 24/7. It's workaholic. And it also comes with a software, which we called Boost. It's a smart brain. It's cloud control. Every robot can be tracked and managed in real time. This is very important. It is very easy to use. We took a lot of time to come up with a UX design. It could be drag and drop for the people operating it. It comes with AI efficiency. It predicts when the rider is going to come. It connects directly to the delivery platforms, and it could prioritize when one bowl is going to be produced or not. And it brings it down to the next order. And it's API driven, so we connect to the delivery platforms. This was one of the success stories that went through. We were able to reduce in 3 ways: in errors, 120 euros, consistency about 1,000, and employees up to 2,000. This was with a bowl production of 100 bowls in a month. So why now? Well, there's over 10 million restaurants that could benefit from Lex. We have a clear business model in place. It comes with a hardware, a software, and a maintenance plan. There's a monthly subscription for the software and for the hardware and maintenance. In 2023, we're currently developing food capsules, so you can just put it in directly coming from the supplier. And we're making tailor-made robotics for some of our pilots. This is the robot pricing. I'm not going to get into it because I don't have too much time. These would be the software plans. And we're aiming for scalability. We're aiming for 200 robots by 2025, combining hardware sales, software and maintenance, and a supplier model with the food capsules, just like Nespresso does. We want to become the biggest food tech robotics company. And how are we going to do that? We came up with an MVP in 2021. We industrialized it in 2022. We came up with a refrigerated version, which is called the Coolx. And for 2024, we're aiming for the Coolx, a hot version, and some tailored robotic projects. I'm going to skip this. This is our talented team. I am the CFO, coming from a delivery platform called Global. We have people from ASTI. We have people who have been in the Basque Culinary University. Our CEO, project management experience in consulting, and then our robotics officer. And these are the founders, and then these are the employees: mechanical, electric engineer, and software engineers. And we also have some advisors.
You've got 30 seconds left if you have anything left to say, Guillermo.
Okay, I went pretty fast, but if you wanted to go into the robot pricing, we have 3 different types of robots. The basic one that is not refrigerated with only 1 slot. It comes with no sauces. The Pro, which comes with 4 slots, 8 sauces, and a case, but it's not refrigerated. The Flex, which is the one with refrigerated case, 2 slots and 8 sauces, and then the Hulex, which is the hot version. We do have patents registered for the current robot, which is the refrigerated version, and currently holding on to the one which is the hot version. which is still pending. But the Culex has the patent and the
That's it. I'm afraid that is your 5 minutes up, I'm afraid, Guillaume.
Excellent.
But I will leave it to our judges who will have 10 minutes to prod you with questions, and you can tell us more about that. Judges, your 10 minutes starts now.
I have a question about cleaning. And I know, because we've looked at this for some fish factories before, is there a sleeve that goes over the hands or the arms or the end effectors? And is it a plastic that's just removed? Or, because I don't think these can be washed down, right? How is that done, the cleaning?
Yeah, so the dispensers, the hoppers where you put in the food and where the food goes in, it could be put directly into the washing machine. It takes 40 seconds, and it could be done in, I think it fits in the normal dishwasher up to 4. So it could be done in less than 10 minutes, all of them, because it has 60 ingredients. In the case of the sauces, the tubes that run up and dispense the sauces, those are put with boiling water and a special product that rinses it several times. And that has gone through sanitary registration here in Spain with no traces of anything. With all different types of sauces and densities of sauces. So it's fairly easy to clean. The hoppers, we've changed them from our MVP, and they could be removed in less than 3 seconds. They're magnetic, so you can remove them really quickly.
I do have a question. You mentioned that you were able to reduce food waste from 12% down to 3%. How did you do that? I mean, there's a consumer side that you can't influence somehow, right? But I assume it goes the statistics that you have shared with us goes to the production side of food, right?
Yeah, so basically we tested our robot because it's live and it actually produces. We have currently 2 reserves for the robot, no cells up to date. But how did we do it? The problem with these poke chain and restaurants is that you cannot really weigh the product you're putting into the bowl, right? Mm-hmm. So there's operators that just randomly grab a full spoon of salmon, a full spoon of tuna, and they just drop it in there, right? So there's an inconsistency, and usually they put more. So we analyzed 1,500 bowls, and out of that 1,500 bowls, most of them, I think it was like 80%, had more product than what you were actually telling that you were actually selling. Okay, so how are we able to reduce it? Well, we have sensors that weigh the product. There's like a screw that keeps on putting food into the dispensers until it reaches the weight that you want, and there it stops pushing. Right, so there's a slight difference because if there's a piece of food that weighs 10 grams and you only need 1 more gram, then there's the difference of 9 grams, right? Because it pushes that last one. But there's only a small difference compared to what an operator or someone in the restaurant could actually put into the bowl. So they were actually losing a lot of money with this. If you have the problem with rice is very cheap. But if you have the problem with tuna, salmon, your margins are going down significantly.
Is it actually saving waste, or is it just selling less?
It's actually selling less. Yeah, it's actually selling less.
I think it's a really cool product. Personally, I really like it. I have one question: is the product itself, so the salmon or the tuna or whatever, that you cannot just throw in your own food, or it has to be some kind of or can you? How does it work?
Yeah, so the hoppers are 11 liters, and you could put into it whatever you want. Okay. We've tested 180 ingredients. We've had some problems with tofu, I'm not gonna lie, and wakame, okay? Because it got like tangled inside, and even though they're flexible, they're problematic, but we tried over 180 and they all worked really well, so you could put in whatever you want. Okay. But in 2023, what we're aiming for is like what Nespresso did. Hey, here is the salmon for your restaurant. and you just put it inside. There's no cross-contamination whatsoever, no contact with air, no contact with anything. And the restaurants depend also on you. And we are not only selling the robot, we're not only selling the software, but we're also selling something that they could only use in our robot.
Okay.
So my question is, why now? Because I've been eating like Pokeball from like 10 years ago, right? And when I went to a restaurant, I feel like the process should totally be automated, right? And the robotic industry has been developing quite a bit, from 10 years ago till now. But are there any challenges in this process to say, hey, 5 years ago, this is not possible, and because of this kind of technology breakthrough, it's not possible, it's not realistic?
Yeah. So the main driver that caused this to change is delivery platforms. Delivery platforms erupted in the restaurant industry when they were not ready, and through the pandemic, they thought they were making money, but in real numbers, they weren't. They were actually losing because of the margins that the delivery platforms gave to these. And also in the operation, people in the restaurant business were not able to operate both delivery and the restaurant at the same time. So that really forced restaurants to need technology. I mean, the automobile industry went through huge technological process, from combustion to electric, and many other industries as well. But what happened to the restaurant? They're still operating in the same exact way. I mean, there's softwares out there, but there's no robots. They're not a lot of robots that could actually help automate this process. So it was the delivery platforms that allowed this to actually change dramatically and say, hey, I'm going to destine this robot to do this bowl that I sell 80% of my volume is this bowl. So I'm going to just make the robot produce this bowl, and this bowl is going to get picked up by a rider directly. Okay, so that's what erupted the robotics in these sectors, and also because of the tight margins. There's a lot of competition, and you cannot keep on increasing the price of a Pokeball. It's ridiculous. They're about 20 euros. 21 euros in Spain. So there's up to like a certain level, or salads, until what you can increase up to. And from there on, they're just going to switch to another product, right? So it's these two things that erupted in us creating this Lex robotic software company.
So you're selling the robot, plus you're going to be actually selling the food, because you're going to be selling the containers of food, right?
Yeah, that's in the long run. But yeah, we're selling the robot, and then we really want to share those profits that could be obtained from economies of scale with the restaurants operators. Here's your salmon that you wanted it with a little bit of lemon and a little bit of blah blah. We're going to create it, and we're going to sell you the capsule with that salmon. And all you have to do is just put it in there. You don't even have to chop it. You don't have to put it up on the hopper. You don't have to do anything. Just put it in there like an espresso machine that we do in the morning.
And where are you with the product? Is it fully developed? Is it deployed to different restaurants and locations at this point? Where are you in terms of?
Yeah, so we started in 2020. We started off with an investment round from a business angel. We created the first MVP ourselves, screws and metals, just by ourselves, ordering pieces from everywhere. And then we eventually got presented to an industrialized partner that makes cars, that makes some parts of airplanes and so forth. And he industrialized the product. So we tested that product in our first pilot, in our first restaurant pilot. And right now we have 2 orders and we have 2 robots. So currently we have 1 robot that we have the MVP, but we cannot sell that one. And then we have 2 more robots. The 2 of them have been reserved, and there's a testing phase of 2.5 months for this. The thing is, people do not really believe yet that robots could actually work, right? So they have to see it in action. They want to see those balls being produced. And once they see it, they don't care about videos, they don't care about anything else. Once they see it, they believe it. So they come to our place, they see it, and they're like, okay, but now I want to make my recipes. So we make the recipes, we put the recipes into a software, very easy to do. And then they see how the balls just come out like basically, well, you could produce up to 350 balls, more or less. So yeah, with the 4 slots. So they could produce as many as they want. And the production average of a restaurant here in Spain is maximum like 250. I mean, the really, really good ones could produce 800 in a day, but 250, 300 in a day is what they produce. So
I'm afraid that's time, Guillermo.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we've heard from all of our 4 startups today. Stay with us, audience, and we will shortly reveal who today's winner is. So I want our judges, they're going to have a little bit of time to make their final decision, select the winner of today's session. So if judges, you could please connect to a separate call as instructed, and don't forget to mute and turn off your camera. Do come back here once your decision is made. Now, while they're making their decision, I want to come to some of our questions from the audience. So Guillermo, I'm going to stay with you while you're here. We have a question from Amaya Kanpukar. What are the challenges that come with using this product in restaurants with more diverse menu items? It seems to work well for fast casual restaurants whose items are more or less the same structure. But what about restaurants that have many types of dishes?
Yeah, so we're actually working right now on once we receive the patent on hot dishes and being able to distribute the food in a dish, not on a bowl. So we're working on that in the hot version as well. As I said, there are 180 ingredients could go into it. And the software nowadays allows to make instant changes within the robot on how the food is being deployed in the dishes, bowls, and so forth. Can it make a hamburger? No. Right now, it cannot make a hamburger. Can I make a hot dog? No. But what we have been working on as well is making wraps. So the robot dispenses a wrap, and then food is dropped into the wrap and is encloses, right? So we cannot make all types of food. We cannot make pizza, we cannot make hamburgers, we cannot make hot dogs, but we can make wraps and we can make hot dishes. As we evolve as a robotic company, I am sure that our aim is to produce all types of food within the restaurant industry.
Super, thank you. Now we have another question, which is to Julian from Somlux. A question from Joshua Rebello. How is your device different from a sleep watch that monitors your heart rate and stuff and suggests improvements via an app?
Yeah, so we are not necessarily a sleep tracker. I would say an Apple Watch or a Garmin or an Oura Ring, whatever, is superior in tracking sleep because that is its sole purpose. Our device is more about actually improving sleep by guiding the breath to a slow-paced rhythm and then using data to have additional advice. But let's take the analogy of losing weight. We are not the weight scale, we are the gym equipment, right? So we are complementary to an Apple Watch rather than competitive.
Okay, let's go back to Paolo of Needle Eye Robotics there. We have a question from Nancy Mandahar, who asks, can this or could it be used for thyroid and breast cancer confirmation as well?
Yes, absolutely. Potentially all the percutaneous procedures, but breast cancer is already a very well-established field. And I'm not familiar with thyroid cancer to know how the procedure is. So this is a device that goes well for cancer that has small foci and can be burned or diagnosed independently. If it is a massive cancer, probably not.
Okay, how about cervical, for example? Could this be made more inclusive for women too, I think is the question there.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And now, of course, it's mostly for men, but other type of cancer affect both genders, and so will be equally, hopefully, will be equally used on both genders.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. So let's go back to clean robotics, and we have a question here. Do you have a warning indicating a trash can is full, and do you recognize organic waste?
Yeah, we definitely recognize organics. And when TrashBot gets full, we do a couple cool things. So we'll let you know on the dashboard. We'll also send text messages, and then the light, the kind of visual indicator on the front of the unit will actually change colors too, just in case you don't have a device on yet.
Okay, thank you, Zach. So if our audience have any more questions, do keep them coming. I want to start with what would you do, Zach? Let's stay with you. If you were today's winner, and just a reminder there that the winner gets 20,000 Swiss francs and access to exclusive KUKA mentorship. So what would winning mean to you?
Yeah, I think the clean robotics, it would really help us establish kind of where we fit into the kind of picture in Europe and kind of that part of the world. So we've had a lot of inbound leads, a lot of interest, but we need a lot of strong partnerships in order to really fulfill those customers' needs to the extent that we kind of live by here.
Okay, Paolo, let me come back to you and ask you the same question. If you were to win today, what would it mean to you? How would that boost your startup?
Well, it will be a great opportunity to be known to a larger audience rather than the people we are dealing all the time, and to also push the concept that robotics, medical robotics, can be done effectively and at low cost. You know, right now there is something that I call the robotic divide. Even in the affluent world, hospital cannot afford the surgical robots. And we want to push something that makes more democratic use of robotics in healthcare.
Okay, and I want to come back to you, Julian. What would winning mean today with that mentorship, but also with the cash prize?
I would say mainly network, right? They sometimes say your network is your net worth. And I feel like in terms of getting funding, you need to know the right people. And getting on this stage seems to be a way to find the right people to get the funding and the talent you need to achieve this mission. So I'm hopeful for that to be an outcome, and yeah, obtain that.
Okay, best of luck. And lastly, Guillermo, to you, how would this change WeTech Food? What would this mean for you to win both the mentorship and the prize there?
Yeah, so we've been working really hard for 3 years, but we're not really well known. So we would want to reach as many people who could actually adopt these robots in the restaurant industry and get well known that we were able to actually produce a robot that works currently in the market.
Okay, super. And I want to ask you, Guillermo, obviously it's difficult time for tech companies at the moment, but obviously there may be other challenges as well, for example, policy. For your company, what are the challenges that you have found and how have you tried to overcome them?
Yeah, it's actually proving market product fit. It's really hard when you're building hardware and software at the same time to actually get that product to the industry, because you have to have a finished, more or less a finished working version, whereas a software, you could actually launch it, test it, and add new features and so forth. But hardware and in the restaurant industry where they've been used to working the same way for decades, it's really hard to get this product within the industry. But once we've actually done a couple pilots and it works and they've been happy, it was easy to get those reserves for these first units.
And how many restaurants are you working with at the moment?
Or 2.
Okay, 2 at the moment.
2 restaurants, yeah.
Okay, good to know, thank you. So I want to come back to you, Julian. I want to ask you, obviously sleep tech, there's a lot on the market at the moment. There has been the last few years. Again, challenging tech times, access to funding is quite difficult. What have been the main challenges for you?
Well, I think some of them you just mentioned, right? I think being a consumer brand is especially tough because the market dynamic of consumers having less buying power is immediately noticeable. So we started the company in the golden ages, let's say, where funding was all over and you could grow no matter what. And now it's all about being profitable no matter what. And that's just a shift in the way you build a company. So that's a challenge. And I would say in the world of data privacy, of healthcare taking off and the burdens there, data is an opportunity, but also a huge limitation in terms of what you can do, because you need to navigate all these laws. And suddenly, from being an engineer and being an entrepreneur, you start to have a lot of legal roadblocks on your way that I'm personally not most expertise in. So you need to get a lot of other people in your team and extend that. Whereas that was let's say more of a wild west a couple of years ago. So many challenges out there.
Yeah, the climate certainly has changed with policymakers. What would you say it's more difficult in Europe or in the US, or are there certain areas where it's
well, so we are expanding in the US, and we found that especially being from Europe, expanding into the US at this moment is not easy. Like it's never easy, but at this moment it's very hard. You see that especially venture capital is focused on investing in local businesses rather than foreign businesses, so that puts limitations on your growth. So as at this moment, personally, and with the company, we're trying to get to profitability rather than getting another funding round, extending runway, because it seems that's not the way to go. And I feel the Europe is always following the US in terms of whatever's going on in the funding landscape. So yeah, we hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst.
Yeah, of course. So Paolo, I want to come back to you. Obviously in health tech, there's a lot of startups trying to do their bit there. Obviously you have a different product, which can hopefully save lives. I want to ask you about what kind of challenges you have faced, and what are the biggest challenges at the moment?
Well, as I said earlier, is acceptance. You know, the ways biopsies are done is different from every basically every hospital, and we are proposing something that is a standard way to perform this procedure, and may not be accepted by all urologists. A few advanced one may like it, other will reject it. So it's another challenge that I didn't mention earlier is the education. So basically show that this is a really very effective way to do it, and especially the results are better. That will be our challenge, showing that we actually keep our promises of being very accurate and very precise.
Okay, super. Thank you, Paolo. And I want to come back to you, Zach. What kind of challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I think one of our biggest challenges was service and maintenance. As we were getting stood up here in the States, that as like a small startup, shipping your engineers around the country for, kind of sometimes things that could be fixed by janitors or local staff, definitely like drew a lot of our attention. So we're definitely looking, as we look to expand into Europe, to set up similar infrastructure to what we have here in the States. So we have local service and maintenance providers. They don't necessarily need to be roboticists, but it's essentially like printer repair companies, other folks that are used to troubleshooting hardware. We've just found, is what's required to deliver a white glove service to our clients. So yeah, I think that's one of our main interests here.
Okay, let me stay with you. We have another questions from our audience there. From Jacob, what is TrashBot's energy consumption? Could the gravitational energy of trash traveling down into the bins be tapped to power it, for example?
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. I would say, like, in the short term, no, we haven't found like logical ways to do that. And the power consumption, I would say, is generally underneath of what you'd see for a standard refrigerator. So I think it's actually quite a bit below that. And the primary power consumption really comes from the TV screen. So I think you're looking at maybe the equivalent of 2 TV screens, but when you look at the captured energy, by recycling, it's a pretty good return on investment.
Okay, Paolo, I've got another question for you from our audience. Will the prototype be aligned with the list of priority medical devices for cancer management? And if yes, in what aspects?
Well, we are, at the moment, we are developing a diagnostic device. So we are aligned with the price of the other diagnostic devices, which basically are the echographer. The cost of the echographer, the high-end echographer, is about 150,000 euros. And we plan to be the echographer plus the robotic in that price range. But we are also developing a version of this device that will work with existing echographer. So the cost would be reduced significantly, and our robotic device and the software can work with existing what urologists already have in their studio.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. And I have a question for Julian. In terms of sleep deprivation statistics, what age group and work background is the most affected? And how have you been able to address this? And I have another question on, is this device going to be portable? Can we take it everywhere?
Yeah, so your first question was, what is the most prevalent age group in terms of sleep deprivation?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, between 50 and 60 years old, especially women, have, statistically speaking, most sleep issues, because it also relates to menopause in that phase of life. And what was the second question?
Is this going to be a portable device that you can take anywhere, that you can travel with?
Yes. So at the moment, you can already take it with your carry-on luggage, although it will take up probably a quarter of your travel case. But we're working on a smaller version as well in the future, maybe have a portable one, since we have many requests of customers that would like to have something like that. And that's on our backlog for sure. So maybe winning this prize will accelerate getting the portable device out there.
And I have another question for you from Amaya. A lot of people interested in sleep tech there. Regarding the user interface, how do you convey the science of sleep to the average consumer?
Yep. So what we try to do, first of all, is that we enable a blog and a podcast in the app, which we regularly update. So we have a few sleep scientists in the team that regularly read the latest papers in sleep science and try to translate those into applicable tips for the user in small digestible videos. So also on social media, that's how we try to position ourselves, right, as a thought leader on sleep. And in the user interface in the app, you just get these small portrait mode videos explaining you the latest in sleep science, which you can use in your daily life, because you don't have to read all those papers and just get to the juicy part of it. And just to get maybe some top tips there is get morning sunlight. That's one of the latest and greatest hacks of improving sleep. First thing you do when you wake up, get actual sunlight in your face. Have a regular sleep schedule, works amazing. And of course, the breathing exercises, the 4-7-8 method. So 4 seconds in through the nose, 7 seconds of holding the breath, and 8 seconds of breathing out through the mouth are 3 top tips I try to express all the time whenever I get the chance. So
okay, thanks so much for those tips, Julian. Again, I want to come back to you now. As you are a startup in Spain, I want to ask you about, obviously we're in challenging economic times, how difficult it's been at the moment for startups.
Yeah, I mean, Spain is a tough country to raise capital. Very tough, because it's not like the US. They actually want to see numbers before investing. So there are very few business angels that invest in hardware/software, and everything that is too innovative. It's like a big no for them. So Spain is hard, even though it booms in the restaurant industry. It's really hard to actually raise capital when you still do not have any sales or anything like that. So we've how did we overcome that challenge? We've asked for financial public aid and loans, and we actually received the Neotech recently. So that gave us a huge boost as well for the next couple months. But in order to raise at current valuations, we have to look overseas.
Okay, thanks, Guillermo. And I want to ask you about the UN's own AI Sustainable Development Goals. Is this something you already had in mind when you created the startup? Is this something that's really important to you as well?
Yeah, it is important to introduce AI, but that could actually help the rest of the world. It's not only to increase productivity for the robot owner, but also for the customer. And how do you do that? Well, it's a price war in the restaurant industry. So if you have the robot, if you have the software in place, you will be able, as a restaurant owner, to give more better quality food at a lower price. And this is not happening. And there's a lot of people nowadays in Spain. Well, the middle class and the high class is narrowing down. So good food, quality food is not really for everyone. It's too expensive for a lot of people in Spain, even though it's a developed country. So we want to target those customers that without the robot they cannot be able to buy healthy poke bowl.
Okay, super. Thanks so much. So the judges have come back with the winner, but before I announce the winner, I'd like to announce who our runner-up is. And our runner-up is Clean Robotics.
Hey, thanks.
Congratulations. How does it feel to be the runner-up?
Amazing. Yeah, we can't wait to see what else develops with the group. Super excited to begin our look at Europe.
Super. Would the judges like to explain why they chose Clean Robotics as the runner-up today?
Jesper, you want to take this one?
I thought Josh would like to say that. No. I think if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, I think the environment is one of the biggest challenges we have at the moment. So it was clear for us that we at least need somebody in place. And on the other hand, it's a product. It's quite difficult, I think, to get it really, really big. So there's a lot of things going on, and it was very difficult for us to compare these companies. We're completely different areas. So we came up with you guys. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I can only imagine being on the panel.
It's a difficult one.
Right.
Yeah, difficult one indeed, for great ideas for startups there. So now it's my absolute pleasure to introduce the winner of today, who is Needle Eye Robotics.
Oh.
Round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Carlos, say a few words. What does this mean for you?
Oh, well, this is a first step in the right direction. You know, this year has been very good with us. We won this grant from the IC. Now we are winning this competition. I guess these types are telling us that we're going in the right direction. So it's really boosted to our confidence. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Paula. Now I'd like the judges who would like to take this to explain why Needle Eye Robotics was today's winner.
Yeah, I can take this one. I think, when we are evaluating the winner for this competition, right? So we coming from two different perspectives. One perspective is as venture capitalists, right? Which startup is more ready to go, has mature products, proven business model, and also, a good track record, right? The other angle is from the ESG angle, right? For the society, for the human benefits, right? Which company best help the humanity to become more sustainable, more environmental friendly society moving forward, right? So I think look at Needle Robotics. It has the both side covered, right? It has on the investment side, it's solving a real world problem. It's having a solution that clearly provide certain value to the patients moving forward, and also from the ESG angle, right? For the patients who are struggling with prostate cancer, if there is a new better solution, right? If there is something that can make their life better, solve their problems, they will subscribe to this new solution and they will benefit directly from this new mechanism as well, right? But like Jasper said, it's a really hard choice. I think all the companies today are clearly providing a lot of value, no matter in the restaurant automation industry, right, to make the whole food, value chain more efficient, or from the the consumer end, we have the sleep robotic company that help the consumers to be able to sleep better and to have a healthy lifestyle in general as well. So I think it's definitely a really hard choice for us, but congratulations, Needle Robotics, and you guys are winner for today.
Certainly, Ryan. There's a lot to choose from today. So thank you to the judges for making your decisions. Thank you to all our startups today, and congratulations to our runner and winner today. Thanks. It's been a privilege to see how the Sustainable Development Goals are trying to be met for AI. And I want to now pass back to Guillaume.
Thanks a lot, Pascal, and a big thanks to all our finalists today, the juries, and as well to all the attendees in today's session. It has been an amazing Robotics for Good Innovation Factory session. And for the finalists today, we'll keep in touch with you and have another closed session to hear more about your business plan in detail and help you guys explore further business opportunities. So now we are opening a quick poll with one question. Please answer and let us know how much you like this session. And we also encourage you to check out the AI for Good program online to see more sessions that may be of interest to you. And the next Robotics for Good Innovation Factory session is to be held next month, April 10th. And application is now open to all kinds of startups using AI and robotics to make social impact and help achieve the SDGs. So stay tuned with us, and hope to see you again next time. Have a lovely day or afternoon or evening, or sweet dreams for some of you in the nighttime. So bye-bye, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you for participating in today's AI for Good session. We hope you've learned something new, innovative, and engaging in today's event. We now encourage you to continue the conversation on the live video wall in the neural network. Here you can ask questions, like and comment, share links, complete the poll, connect with interesting profiles, or speak one-on-one using the chat and video function. We invite you to explore the lobby, try the smart matching quiz, visit the virtual exhibits, poster boards, the eShop, and build your personalized AI for Good program. Let's shape the future of AI for Good.
AI is a powerful tool.
This summit can help ensure that artificial intelligence charts a course that benefits humanity and bolsters our shared values.
Thank you.